Hi, welcome to the Fellowship Style Stage. My name is Jackie McIntosh and I'm going to be your host for this session. Today we have the amazing Christian Wiles. Hi Christian, welcome. What I want to ask you, Christian, I've just seen this title. It's a mega title. I hope I get it right. Matrix Artist Ambassador. Tell me a bit about that role.
That is it, yeah. So I've been with Matrix now for 20 years, I think. So yeah,
Shut the front door.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, I've been there for a very long time. Kind of like worked my way up through the ranks, and to artistic ambassador.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And as an ambassador, does that allow you to travel?
Yeah.
What does the actual job itself entail?
Yeah, so, education is my passion.
Okay.
I'm kind of writing courses, delivering face-to-face education, a lot of travel. So I've done most of Eastern Europe over the last couple of years, which is, quite a privilege to do. Yeah.
Amazing, and I'm sure you've shared your amazing talents that I'm going to ask you to do now. We've got a video of the techniques that you're going to use, so could you just run us through those techniques, please? Okay
then, so what we're working with, the colouring technique that we used on my model, this is the sectioning pattern, okay? So we're isolating areas, on the hair which are going to be sort of like focal points. So an example, the nape area, and then we're working around, the two sections at the front, and then literally creating a face frame, okay? So, when the hair falls forward, we've got, sort of like a heavy lift and blonde through here, through the jawline or...
So no, that's fine.
Yeah.
So let's just take that back a bit. In terms of your sectioning pattern, because I am a big fan of sectioning patterns. Maybe too much of a big fan of sectioning patterns. But can you just give us an idea, or even not even an idea, explain why it's important? Because I think sometimes people miss that.
Of course,
why it's important to have sectioning patterns.
The reason for it, one, you work cleanly. Secondly, methodically. Thirdly, I'm a strong believer in it's not how much colour you put on the hair, it's where you put it. And I think that's what actually matters. So, taking clean sections and understanding where or how much of an impact that colour is going to make, defines where you're going to actually put it.
And do you use your patterns to utilise maybe the colour placements, and so there's that kind of initial your colour choice?
Completely, completely, yeah. And it also then enhances the haircut. It sort of like adds texture to the haircut, and it actually sort of like complements that shape.
So let me ask you, colourist or stylist, which one comes first? Which one comes first?
That is the hardest. Working for a colour house colour.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll let you get started on working on your model.
Okay then, so with the sectioning pattern, what we're doing is isolating areas and creating a focal point with the haircut. Okay, first of all, working in a nape area, we're going to work with sort of like slices through there, which is then going to enhance the jawline.
What direction are we taking our slices in?
We're working... What direction is that?
Horizontal, vertical? Sorry, I didn't want to
Yeah, working horizontally.
Sorry, for this one, we're not going to ask questions. I think we're just going to talk through it.
Okay, no worries. Okay then.
I'm sorry.
Okay then, so then working through the side section, again, we're going to work with sort of like a weave and a slice well through that, enhancing what we call working through the cheekbones. And then through the top section, the isolated section that we've got here, creating sort of, I suppose, a mani piece or emphasising, the eyes. We're working with our open air pre-lightener, which has got kaolin clay in it. It's fantastic for freehand work, but I'm actually going to be working with it in packets because the actual pre-lightener does not move. And we're working with 6% 20 vol. As you can see, it's a nice whipped, thick consistency, and it's like easily pliable and easy to work with. Okay, so then working on the sections above the slices, just to sort of like blend that area in, we're working with sort of like a medium weave, but then also then feathering the actual pre-lightener on the hair, so it's It's more of a seamless transition, and it just sort of like connects and marries up the rest of the hair colour. Probably take that one out. It's gone back to the... Okay then, so after the colour's developed, we're using a product called Instacure, which is a porosity equaliser and literally paves the way for our toner. And then working with our tonal control product, which is an acidic toner, and that balances the hair's porosity and gives a nice even finish. The toner we're using on that is a toner called 8VG. You can see it gives off like, what's great about this particular product is in the bowl, it will shows that it's like got a violet hue to it. So other colours in that range would be gold, and that will give it a gold hue in the bowl, so you never get confused with what toners you're actually using. So it's more of a visual concept. There we are, that's with the toner on there, just showing sort of like really just how pliable that product is and how far it goes. And it actually leaves the hair in a lot better condition. Okay.
All right, Christian, thank you for that. So I see you've got your model here ready for us. Can you just tell me what you're going to be showing us
Okay
today?
then, so what I've already done is I've cut the baseline and I've cut a forward graduation. I'd say my model's hair is kind of like more of like a Scandi texture, so it's quite sort of fine, it's quite fair. And I'm working in a technique where we just get a little bit of lift through this crown area, okay? So when she comes to blow dry it herself, she's going to get a little bit more volume in it. Also, when you sort of like work away through it, it's going to give a little bit more body, okay? I've isolated a section on the top area here, which if I just put your head forward, I'm not sure as to whether you can see that. So we've taken a star shape, okay? So the reason for that is if you were just traditionally going to take a box layer and cut that in, you're going to be left with sort of like quite heavy lines through the hair. So working with this particular section pattern, it softens on each corner, because what I don't want to do is leave gaps on the actual baseline. I want the baseline to stay strong, and I also don't want it to affect like the forward graduation and the face frame as well. And what that will do is, working with that, it will free up the colour placement that we've already put in the hair and make that a focal point.
And I suppose it would also, because of the fineness that you've just spoke about, make that look a lot more thicker and finished.
A lot thicker, yeah, completely.
Thank you. I'm excited to see what you're going to do for us.
Yeah, so what I would do normally, had I not put a wave in this already, I would still isolate the area of the hair on the underneath so it doesn't, end up in this section that we're taking here. What I'm going to do is just start off. Okay, we're going to use what we call a stationary guide, right? So everything from this initial section is going to come up to this particular point, okay? So that way we're sort of like maintaining a little bit of the hair's length. We're not going too short as well. I think measuring the hair's length around about here, around about the shoulder length. We don't want to go with like too short a section, but we also want to connect that slightly with the texture that's already been added to it. Also, a way to sort of like work this out is depending on how big a brush you use or how big a brush your client uses or your model uses at home. Okay, so we use quite a large, round brush, okay? So if we were then to take these sort of like or bring these layers with this texture down here, it's going to cause so many problems, it's not going to work as well, okay? So it's kind of like taking into consideration, one, where it's going to fall, and two, what size brush you're going to use in that as well, okay? And that kind of like determines, I suppose, how much hair we're going to actually take off.
And I would assume that, again, that gives a lot more emphasis to creating more movement internally while really keeping your external lengths in position.
Completely, you just gather a lot more movement. And another little tip as well is, depending on how soft you want that, it's just sort of like letting that fall over your fingers. It's knowing what technique to use and why. You know, a lot of haircuts that I do, you know, would be sort of like quite taut and like add structure to it. Yeah. But this particular section, because of the actual quality of the hair as well, you know, we don't want it to show up every single mark. So it's just literally, you know, point cutting in, but letting the hair sort of like almost just like fall over and bend. So you're kind of like just cutting into it softly.
Do you find that you use a lot of texturising techniques when you're cutting? Yeah,
it depends really on what the actual, you know, the type of hair that you're working with. You know, it's you know, sometimes with like finer hair, you know, I like to blunt it, you know, just to sort of like ensure that we're sort of like maintaining that thickness and shape. You know, internally, yes, we can. You know, would I use texturising scissors on here? No, I wouldn't. You know, I think that it would actually, you know, create too much of a fine finish on the ends, you know, and when it comes to blow dry, you kind of see that in the hair. So we still want to, you know, maintain a little bit of the, you know, the thickness of the hair texture, but sort of like creating texture movement and also a little bit of lift as well.
Nice.
Okay, so just literally bringing everything into that point, all right? Letting the hair sort of like fall over. And what you find as well, because you're bringing it all up to that point, you're creating graduation, so the hair then sort of like becomes longer and longer. So the shortest point obviously is the first point that we cut, and then the rest of it, as long as we're bringing it up to that point, letting it fall over, and then just softly cutting into the ends, you know, you're maintaining that sort of like the graduation of length so it connects seamlessly to the rest of the hair.
So we spoke just now about cut or colour and obviously colours for you. Yeah. So when you're colouring, I should say, are you already thinking about how that cutting technique is going to bring out your colour?
Yeah, I'll tell you an interesting thing. So basically, you know, we used to do, this is like back in the day, we used to do a lot of hair shows.
Back in the day, Christian.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day when we used to do lots of hair shows with, you know, with Matrix. What would happen is that, you know, you'd get assigned a model, you'd work out a haircut, the colourist would do their colour, you get them back, and then you'd have to try and work out the haircut around the colour on what is going to expose those focal points. You know, there wasn't always that sort of like dialogue between the stylist and colourist. So, you know, a quickly adapted haircutting techniques based around, you know, colour sectioning patterns.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so, you know, a lot of the work really was based around that. So we've developed quite, you know, a few different sort of like haircutting shapes based around colour placement and
your sections.
You know,
which again kind of emphasises why the importance of doing good sectioning patterns. I would have said.
Completely, you know, and this particular section here, this star shape that I've used on the actual crown area, would have been a colour placement sectioning pattern as well.
Look at you, ambassador. Check it out.
Okay, so we're just literally on the last section. Another little point as well is when you sort of like working and creating texture internally, you know, on a haircut, it's kind of like working out, you know, literally how much you leave at the front, because if you go too close into that parting area, you're going to eat away at the shape at the front and make it a lot finer. So it's sort of like ensuring that, you know, you've got enough space, you know, between the hairline and the actual, you know, internal texture that you're creating.
Amazing.
Okay, so we're just working on the last piece there. Okay, now that's good for me. Right, so then what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to put a curl in this while this is here, and then sort of like marry it up. All right, so just work through just with a general, you know, wave. Then free up the rest of the hair, and then we'll just sort of like work it through. Okay. What I've done already is prep the hair. using Seta Mousse. Okay, so it's quite light, really quick and easy to work with as well. And really, what I wanted to do is like let the hair feel a little bit gritty. You know, just so that when you use the heat from the tongue on there, it just reacts nicely to it, and really simply.
So for my alter ego that wants to be the next Christian Wiles, my alter ego, what do I have to do to be as good as you, Christian?
Oh my
for all of our
goodness.
viewers that are watching, how do we follow these amazing footsteps?
I know your work, not hard for you.
No, trust me. I mean, just share some tips for someone that really would want to look at your career and think, this is what I want to do.
I think really it's kind of, I've become sort of, it's how hard you work, I think, and what you're prepared to sort of like put in and give back to the industry as well. I think that's really, really important. You know, I'm always learning, always learning. You know, I've got some great mentors that I work with, at Matrix, Des Murray being one. I do an awful lot of work with him, and also Zoe Irwin, another great inspiration, for the team. But it's like, I'm constant, it's education. I think that's what it is,
Doesn't
being
stop,
prepared. No, not at all. And being prepared, just hungry for it, and just how much work you're going to put in. And yeah, do you know what? For years, I did loads of free stuff and just...
Don't tell me with the free stuff.
Yeah, the free stuff, and it's really just to sort of like learn and get those opportunities, you know what I mean? Make yourself available. And I still do it now, I still do it now, I'm quite happy to sort of like help anyone really.
So let me ask you the one burning question. Are you still in love with this industry from when you first started to now, or are you more in love with it now?
I'm more in love with it. Do you know what? I fell out of love with it for a little bit over that period that we won't mention. But,
no, we won't mention
I think, more in love with it. I think, do you know what's exciting is that we're seeing a lot of young talent coming through. A lot of young talent that are like, when you see some of the stuff, I'm just blown away by it, and it's original as well, know. I mean, it's and in that is really exciting, and just sort of like seeing, how passionate, these young stylists are in our industry, and how hard they're prepared to work as well, it's bonkers.
The one thing I am going to jump in and ask, I'm just so grateful to see you using traditional tongs.
Yeah.
Is that a choice?
I'm old school. Yeah. I do like. And like, a lot of the, when you like look back, how you were taught as well, a lot of these sort of like old school ways of preparing hair really, they're being regurgitated and, it
we
makes me look cool, doesn't it? Yeah. And we were there first. Yeah.
And in that preparation, I would say that, again, the hair prepping, how important is that?
Hugely so. I think that's the key thing. Especially when you're working with, like, say, hair up or anything like that, prep is the key. If you don't get the prep right, the hair's not going to work, And the actual, working with the hair or manipulating the hair is probably the easiest part. It's the actual preparation that leads up to that that's the hardest part. And getting that right, and also, when you work in, say, on shoots as an example, you've got to work quickly, and you've got to keep sort of like, trying to get as many looks out of that hair as you possibly can. Time's money, and you haven't got time to sort of like mess about with it. That. So, that's another key point. Right, what we're going to do is just free this hair up. So again, as I said before, we've already prepped the hair. We've blow dried. Actually started with Amplify shampoo and conditioner, which is like part of the Matrix Total Results range. And what that does is that just like swells the hair nicely, gives it a lot of body. And then working with the mousse through there, just sort of like drying that in, and, you know, dry bit in, feel it, and then if it doesn't feel as though it's got that gritty texture to it, work some more in, blow dry it, you know, but it doesn't overload.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's a really nice product.
So these three that you've got on your trolley, are they your go-to?
These are my go-to, okay? So, you know, I'd work with the mousse first for prep, set the hair, you know, with the hairspray, and then finish it with the other hairspray.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Okay, if I can get
Hence
these
the
out.
word fixer.
Yeah, so we've got two freezing hairsprays, but one of them's for volume.
Ah.
Okay, so this is more of a volume fixer.
Okay.
And then the fixer hairspray is like that final look, but it's kind of like sprayed on when it's finished, because if you put that on beforehand prematurely, it's harder to work through. Okay. So. I'm just going to tease this out with my hands. Try not to get it all. Okay, so what this was created for, it's more of a classic look, okay? I just wanted a little bit more body in the hair, something a little bit more commercial looking. Okay.
I'm just loving the traditional tools that I'm seeing you use.
The old.
I love it.
Hard to get hold of as well, aren't they?
Oh, they are.
Yeah. And literally just a soft brush, brushing it through. So I don't want it to. I want more movement and body in the hair.
Colours complementing, lovely. And all without a mirror, eh?
And all without, do you know, it's so hard to work without a mirror, isn't it?
Not for an old professional like yourself. No, you're not going to get that one.
Okay. Can you just see through here, then just how that particular technique, you know, so you saw what we cut off. You see the length of the hair now.
Seamless, isn't it?
And just literally, it blends all the way through and just get a nice little bit of lift through that crown area. Again, it will work with her hair, you know, on straight hair as well, you know, if she decides to wear it straight and just put a big blow dry in there. But yeah, essentially, you get a lot more body and fullness in the hair.
Really such a simple technique, but very effective.
Very effective. Okay. And there we are. So just literally just working a little bit of fixer hairspray just through the front area, just give that a little bit more lift. Okay. Actually, if you stand up for me. This is the other thing. Every single model that I work with is taller than me. Right.
That looks gorgeous.
Okay then, so just really, you know, a classic look, commercial look, but just giving the hair a little bit more body.
Could you just give us a quick recap of just
of
really
course.
take us through what you did?
Okay then, so with the colour, you know, picking out focal points, as you can see here, you know, through, you know, the jawline, through the cheekbone area as well, and then literally emphasising the eyes. Okay, so lightening it up. And what happens is as well, when you lighten it up around the front, it opens up the face, yeah. So yeah, it opens that up. If you were to go darker around there, it would close it off, you know. And that's what I wanted to do, open it up so it looked a little bit more glamorous. So working with that colour technique, and then just sort of like, that was working with slices, and then finally working through a medium to fine weave just to sort of like marry that up with a natural hair colour through, like the root area or the negative space that was left from the slices, okay? Then prepping the hair, cutting the baseline for graduation, prepping the hair, then, working with like our setter mousse, okay? Just so that the hair feels nice and gritty, so it's going to receive like the tong and actually, work with that curl, okay? Then taking a star section on the crown area, ensuring that, we're not involving, like the hairline or affecting the baseline, okay? So we still want that to be strong. Point cutting or texturising that particular section using a stationary guide, bringing everything up to that point so we sort of like maintain as much length as possible. Then working again through with the tongs and then dressing the hair out and then finishing off with my favourite fixer hairspray.
Amazing. Can we give a nice 360 turn
do a little
for us?
360 for us?
Well, let's have a good old turn of that. That is beautiful. Christian, thank you so much. The Fellowship Style Stage, thank you. And you've created something absolutely fabulous. You're amazing.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime.